What's up, Jump Squad? It's Chi. I'm here with my former housemate, teammate, good friend Matt Penny. Um, we ran track and field together, even though neither of us actually ran. Matt is a thrower. He did primarily discus and shot put, a little bit of weight throw. His best marks, we have 14:21 for the shot put and 39:47 for the discus. I'm actually just gonna let Matt do a little bit of his own intro, and we can go on from there. So Matt, if you want to just tell us a little bit about yourself, track and field history, training history, stuff like that.
Yeah, sure. So, like G said, I was a thrower. I was a teammate of his for 4 years, all through college. We were roommates. He actually lived below me, and I lived upstairs in our house. So as he said, I was a thrower. I started in high school. I actually started in middle school in seventh grade, and then my freshman year of high school, I thought I was going to be a basketball player. And it doesn't really work out when you're 6 foot, And if you know anything about our high school it's right next to UConn, and a lot of our players go to UConn once they graduate. So yeah, I wasn't really destined to be. So I decided I was pretty good at throwing rocks in fields, so I was gonna do that, and I ended up getting pretty darn good. I was fortunate enough to have a really good coach in high school. She actually still is the discus record holder, the jab record holder, the hammer record holder at high school that I teach at now. I'm a PE teacher, and she went to UNC, I believe, for throwing, and then competed there for a couple years. So she decided to focus on schoolwork. I think her best throws were 135, maybe 140 in jab, and then around the same in disc. I don't know hammer that well. So as for like high school, and she wanted me to talk about a little bit like my lifting background. I didn't start working out until, at least seriously, until I was like 14 or 15 years old. I think everybody kind of has that same process of, hey, I want to look like Arnold Schwarzenegger, I want to look like Rocky or whatever, and I wasn't any exception.
Mm-hmm.
So I started doing push-ups and pull-ups in my room, and that progressed into weights. And then once I met my other coach in high school, who was actually our head track coach, who Chi has met a few times, he kind of put me on like strength training and Olympic weightlifting and plyometrics and jumping, and that's kind of what progressed into this like love of training and jumping and throwing and sprinting. I still enjoy looking at like distance running. I think that's like a totally different other like energy source and way to train. It's interesting, but I really like speed and power, and that probably will always be the case.
Mm-hmm.
So as it pertains to like my own personal training, I've competed in weightlifting, powerlifting, obviously track and field. I've done a little bit of other types of like power sports, just like messing around. And I actually am planning on competing in powerlifting or weightlifting at some point early in the year. I'd love to compete in the summer, but who knows with COVID. God, for those accomplishments too, I know I'm ranting on, but I had the clean and jerk state record for the 102 kilo class, which I believe is 221 pounds or so. And then that was 300 and what was it, 327 or 300, I think it was 143 kilos. So just over 300 pounds. And then for powerlifting, I have the junior squat drug tested record, which is 523 pounds. Bench pressed 347 pounds, which was like my opener, but I did more, but that's a story for another time. It was pretty funny. And then a deadlift, technically I should have, but we never declared a lift. There was like some mix up there, which would have been right over 500 pounds. So I try to be pretty well rounded.
And you said at what weight class?
The powerlifting records were all set at the 242 weight class, so I was a little bit heavier.
Man. Wow, yeah, well, I mean, I feel like you brought up a lot of great points. Like, obviously, you got into training where you thought, hey, I want to look like Arnold Schwarzenegger or whatever. I don't even want to try saying his last name. But yeah, no, I think that was a big thing for me as well. And It started. I don't know if you knew or whatever. You know about like my 11-year-old bodybuilder thing, bodybuilding
Yeah, yeah,
phase,
yeah.
where like I thought, I was watching this guy like Andrew Sandrak, who was like the little Hercules or
I
something
actually
on
remember that
YouTube.
guy.
Yeah, so I was always trying to
Yeah.
like match his like flexes and like whatever. Um, Obviously from there, I didn't really start lifting until like 16 or 17. But especially when I got to
Okay.
Eastern, I mean, I think you were like a um, big inspiration, kind of like a big part of like seeing somebody train so consistently and like putting up really big numbers, and that was like really, really attractive to me. Not like sexually, but like whatever. You know what I mean. You
Yeah,
know what I
no,
mean.
I mean, she let me get a little bit more light in here. It's bother me. But yeah, so she's basically talking about like the first time we met. I think it was we were probably I think we were still doing 6 a.m. lifts then,
I think
with Aaron at the time.
I don't know. I feel like the first time we met, I feel like it was either just on the
Was it before that,
track
you
or
think?
like I saw you like in Hurley or something. It was definitely on the track. I don't think we were lifting yet, but
Wow. Yeah, so maybe even before that, I don't know. But yeah, so she's like talking about the first day we're in the gym. We didn't have a scheduled like program at that point,
mm,
and I had already been like, hey, I want to hit. I think I was still striving for like a, I don't know, dude, like a 400 squat. Then I was barely squatting 400. I don't even think I
mm,
had squat 400 at that time. And but to be fair, compared to the rest of our team, it was quite a bit of weight. Like they had
yeah,
never seen anybody who was, I think at the time I was like a 400 squat, 250-ish bench, 260-ish bench,
mm,
and then my deadlift was just god awful at that point. It maybe was 385 pounds. It was just terrible.
mm,
Um, but yeah, people like, and I was a freshman, so like people didn't realize that, you know, I don't consider myself very strong, but I guess they were surprised. And even
mm.
when I remember, our first meet at Coast Guard, like a kid asked me, or another athlete asked me whether I was like a senior or not, and I
That's like
was
the
like,
biggest
and
compliment you
I
could
think
get.
I can, yeah, I mean, I think I came in like third place that meet or something, like,
Uh,
and he was like, whoa,
yeah, yeah. I wanted to talk a little bit about kind of like your jumping experience, um,
Okay.
and how you view yourself as a jumper, specifically I guess like 2 foot or like your potential to dunk. I believe you can
Yeah.
touch rim. Are you
Okay.
grabbing rim? Right? Almost.
Yeah. So
Pretty
I
much.
was like, I mean, yeah, it's a really good question. So, the one of the things that like how Chi and I became friends, we would talk about like jumping because although I was a thrower, I still like appreciate like what he's able to do. And then I finally saw Chi jump, and I was like, what is going on? Like, is this even real life? And that's not just to gas him up because look, I'm one of his best friends, so I always gas him up. But
Got to.
um, yeah, so Chi and I have like we actually have a pretty similar like way of jumping. I think it's just because we're both so heavily dependent on like power and like the way that we like recruit fibers, if you want to get into like the technical terms. Neither of us are probably very good anymore off of 1 foot. I was okay. I was pretty decent when I was a lighter.
Mm-hmm.
I'll say that
Cause
kindly.
you did put
Um,
on like a lot of weight, or I mean muscle, right? Between like, because I've seen some pictures of you in high
oh yeah,
school,
yeah,
and you
yeah.
were
I
like
yeah.
maybe like
I was
160, like maybe.
oh yeah, yeah. So I was, yeah. This is actually maybe a good talking point too. I was, God, I think I started high school at like 150, 158, and then when I graduated, I was like 198.
Mm,
Right around, I think I actually peaked out at like 202, and then I was like, I gotta lose a little bit of weight. I was like looking sloppy,
mm-hmm.
and then when I graduated college, I was 252. I think right
Jeez.
around there, maybe a little bit lighter. I think I ended
Jeez.
the season a little bit lighter just because you were working out a little bit harder,
Yeah.
but yeah, I was pretty heavy. But getting back to jumping, like I very much describe myself as like heavy penultimate step into 2 footed jumping.
Mm,
I usually take a short approach, like maybe 3 to 5 steps, depending on how far I'm going. I think one of the things that like always surprised people is like my ability to jump. Like even when I was like really heavy, I think we did that box jump sheet
yeah.
and was like 49 inches or so,
Something like that.
and I
Yeah.
had a little bit of room to go. Yeah,
Yeah.
it was pretty high, um, and like 250 pounds, but that's nothing compared to like professional throwers. They're like you're talking into the 50s plus, but
Uh-huh. But I think there definitely is something to like see, right? Like the similarities, like in the way that you might have trained with those um, throwers, and then like still like your
Yeah,
ability to be able to like output that type of power, to be able to jump that high. It's still,
yeah.
especially at your
I
weight,
think
at your
that
size, like it's crazy.
right. I think it comes down to like total time. So like how long does your event take? Like approximately like running down the runway to then lift taking off the board. It's relatively short as compared to even like the 200.
Hmm.
Like you're not running 100 meters. You're probably not even. How long is the whole runway in like total distance?
Probably like
Would
30
you say, or
meters.
even just from your steps? Yeah, it's
Yeah,
like
around
very very
probably like
short.
20
And then
meters, 25.
right. And you talk about the explosion to the board. I mean, that's like fractions of a second, right?
Hmm.
Same thing with throwing, right? You're trying to get the ball out of your hand as fast as possible. So, and it's a very like I think a lot of people think that throwing is like upper body dominant, but it's very much lower body. Like
Hmm.
my first few years of training, I barely benched. Like I never benched. I never bench heavy. Like I think that's a big misconception.
Yeah.
You know. But as for like jumping, God numbers. I think I had a 31-inch vertical right around there. I think
Standing
was my
or
best.
running?
Standing. No, I was
Oh,
standing
standing.
vert. Yeah,
In high school?
yeah,
Oh, you're
and
talking about back in.
yeah, that was in high school.
Oh,
That was in high
okay.
school, but I think I had a 29-inch vertical my freshman year of college, and like, I
Nice.
mean, of course, I went down.
Yeah.
But if you know me, like my wingspan is really really short. I
Yeah.
only have like a 5'9" wingspan, and I'm about 6 feet tall. So
Yeah.
um, I gained a little bit there, but I mean, in high school, I could almost dunk. I had one really, really close when I was like a junior or something. I
Mm.
swear, I was like, what is going on right now? It was definitely like a 9-9. It was definitely like a 9-9 rim or something. But
But still,
and
I
then
mean,
of course I could almost. What were you saying?
I was just gonna say like I've seen you like grab rim or like touch rim pretty comfortably. I feel
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah,
like
absolutely. I could almost. I think when I was a senior, I could almost grab rim. Not senior in high school, I could almost grab rim with both hands.
mm,
I was really, really close.
yeah.
Um, and then my shoulder was like, yeah, probably not good to hold on to the rim when you're when you're jumping. So I mean,
Yeah.
I haven't jumped like that, and I can still grab rim pretty handedly, like off of a
Mm,
vertical. I don't like running starts. Like anybody who knows me as the running start, I actually probably lose a little bit of distance or
mm.
like height.
Definitely just like a
Um, I'm
technique.
yeah, it's definitely just all it's all technique for
Yeah.
sure, right? It's all conversion. It's all conservation of momentum.
Mm. So a thing that I've started doing more recently, unfortunately I couldn't go today, but I've been going to the gym like a
Yeah.
lot earlier. Usually I've been going to the gym
Hmm.
like 4 or 5 or 3 before work. My work schedule kind of sucks, but for the past
Yeah.
2.5 weeks I've been going to the gym like 3 times a week at least when I can, like at 7:30, um, and
Hmm.
that just kind of brought me back to lifting early in the morning with you. Um,
Definitely.
and I don't know, it just like there's something about lifting in the morning that I've really come to like appreciate. I feel like it's just like a great way to get my day started.
Yeah, I
And
think that there's a few studies. Maybe I should talk about my education background too.
yeah,
I actually have a degree in kinesiology, physical education. I'm a PE teacher. If you haven't, I think I mentioned that briefly before. But my degree is in kinesiology. I train athletes privately, throwers, power throwers, just athletes in general. Um, yeah, so getting back to what she said, there is a little bit of study. There are some studies that show that training time can affect overall output. Whether that ends up being like, you know, whether it ends up like having a good return, in actual like results, I think it's nominal, meaning it's small. If anything, there is some evidence to show that peak, like she was saying, peak testosterone. It's more. I think it's more concerned with like that that switch of like cortisol to testosterone ratio. So when you work out, testosterone drops, cortisol raises,
mm-hmm.
so you're recovering. They're trying to trade places. Also, growth hormone is higher. That's right. During REM sleep is when growth hormone is actually released. Um, that aids in recovery, not so much performance, but obviously if you can't recover from what you're training, you're not going to make progress.
Mm-hmm.
As for testosterone, I haven't heard that, but it would make sense. Just coming out of sleep, that
Yeah,
does make sense. You don't get to your deepest sleep until around that time, anyways. So I get what he's saying. I always liked working out in the morning just to get it done. I guess just with our work schedules, it made sense at that time. I was at that, what she's referring to. I'd get up at 6 a.m., get to the gym around 7, work out for like 30, 40 minutes, and then I'd go right to teaching for school. I'd have to do my student teaching and stuff, which was fortunately this wasn't like on chance, but I had two schools that were really, really close. I think Tom was only like 25 minutes away from campus, and then Porter was like 5 minutes. Like I could literally just grind out a workout and then drive there, all
Mm-hmm.
sweaty and gross. It was disgusting. Um, she and I were, interestingly enough, we used to work out with the volleyball team on Tuesday
I was gonna
mornings.
say that
That
was
was
probably like your biggest incentive to get up and go.
yeah, you could say that. You could say that for sure. Um, but tell them about like your experience with like getting into more serious training towards the end of our like careers at Eastern. Like,
Yeah.
what do you? I would love to know what you like. I talk about this all the time, but like, what do you attribute your success to?
Yes, I mean, I'd been doing track and field for whatever 3 years up to this point. My senior year, I remember coming in my freshman year, thinking, I mean, I'd PR'd at like 20 feet and like 8 inches in high school, and I remember coming into Eastern, I was like, yo, I'm gonna jump 23 feet like my freshman year. I'm just gonna go
Yeah,
off.
yeah, yeah,
And I mean, I was in the gym a little bit, like whatever, leading up to my senior year, like my freshman, junior, senior year. I was definitely getting stronger. Um,
yeah,
but I
for
was
sure.
pretty stagnant, right? I think it wasn't until like my junior year that I finally like jumped like 22 or just below 22, and then
Yeah,
my
I think it
senior,
was around there. Yeah,
yeah, and I think my senior year I was just like, all right, like this is literally like the last year I can do this. I took preseason like a lot more seriously. I think I was doing stuff with Nick, early in the morning, um,
yeah.
and then my indoor season. How was my indoor season? I think I got a little injured at one point, hyperextension on the board. But anyways, getting to like the
Yeah,
main
I think it was your
part,
groin, right?
my groin was like the end of outdoor.
Oh,
But there
okay.
was something at like
Yeah.
URI or something, not URI, Rhode Island College. No, where was it? It was somewhere. We were somewhere in Rhode
RSE,
Island.
right?
I think getting to outdoor my senior year, I was pretty I was pretty focused. I guess I mean, I felt like a lot more focused and a lot more confident than I had, um, the
Yeah.
following
I
years.
mean, you bought in. You bought into the
Yeah, I
training.
bought in absolutely. And honestly, I think some things that helped was like I was doing. Honestly, I think what helped, like I was doing like I'd always been like jumping, like doing random stuff, but I tried to do like like I was doing a box jump onto like some mats in the gym, and I don't know, just I feel like trying those other things kind of made me like more like, hey, like I can do this, I can do like if I can do this box jump, I can do other things, right? Like there's always like room to improve. There's always like
Right.
it just helped with my confidence a little bit. Um,
Yeah.
and I was lifting more. We had Coach Mendoza, who I hope to have on this chat, but who's unavailable today. Who I think wrote
Yeah.
some really good
You're awesome.
programming. It was exciting. He was really good. I think that's like a huge thing, having like a strength and conditioning coach who you can kind of connect to and almost be friends with. Of course, they're still a coach. They still, um, I don't want to say,
Garner your respect.
yeah, of course, definitely garner my respect, but at the same time, right, like it's a friendly relationship. Always somebody like who you can go and talk to, and like, so that was amazing.
Yeah.
Um, he was really impactful as a person as well as as a coach, providing his own training. So I had a lot of fun with that, and I don't know. I literally I was working as hard like as I've ever worked. Like my senior year, towards the end of my senior year, especially. As Matt said, we were in the gym around 7 a.m. I was eating a lot more at the dining hall when I could, and then sometimes I would even lift twice a day. I would lift in the morning, then I would have practice where we would do some pretty fatiguing, demanding stuff with the jumper specifically. We were doing like a lot of like
Yeah.
banded resistance, repetitive, like this was stuff that you wanted to be like fresh for, right? Like but I was still
Right.
getting through that, and then sometimes even after that I would go and lift again. Um, and so I did this for
Yep.
a while. I think there was one cycle where I was lifting and then I kind of laid off, and then the next cycle leading into the into our home meet and like the conference championship again, I got sick. so I'd been training pretty hard, and I got sick, and I was like, hey, I talked to the actual head coach of the track and field team, and I was like, I'm going to just chill because I'm sick, and I want to be good for the rest of the meets. I don't want to do anything. And I literally did almost nothing for a week. And then I started to feel better a week later. And I remember that day of the home meet, I felt unbelievable. Like I felt
Dude,
light as a feather. I was like jumping around, like going to get my uniform from the office. I was like skipping around, whatever. And I was feeling fast. I was feeling strong. I was feeling just bouncy. And I jumped my best ever. It was wind aided, 23.6, but I think the whole series of jumps was pretty good.
I was very consistent.
Yeah, it was consistent, but my theory is, right, I ended up hurting myself for like pulling my groin or something. It was such a weird freak accident. But like I think I was just literally almost not prepared for the type of like explosiveness that I was producing.
No,
like,
absolutely.
I think it was like a shock to my body to all of a sudden be doing nothing and then just. So unfortunately, that's kind of where my season ended. But yeah,
you know, I absolutely agree. I think that a lot of people focus on like strengthening the muscles, but and when I say strengthen, I mean like improving upon, like, for example, like we're doing weighted squats, we're doing whatever cleans, whatever we're doing that week. I don't want to get too specific just because we could get on a rant about that for too long, but we need to focus more on rehab. Like and she knows this like anybody else. Any athlete knows this. It's not always necessarily who gets better quicker. It's who lasts longer in the sport. That's why, like, looking back, everything that she and I were doing in that training cycle was like extremely quad dominant. We did a fair amount of rehab with or not rehab, prehab's maybe a better term. We did a lot of hamstring stuff, GHDs. We did some Nordics, I believe. I tried to do some stiff legs in there. I actually trained the lower back quite a bit in that cycle too. I attribute all that to Mendoza. He was a real genius. We really sat down and discussed what we thought was a good move. There is some evidence to show that training the low back could potentially take pressure off the hamstring and the glute. So it could protect the hamstring from being injured. You always notice a lot of sprinters and football athletes and kind of sometimes basketball players, they don't put down nearly as much force other than the jumping component of their sport. You see a lot of pulled hamstrings in track and in football, and I do believe that if they train their low backs, which I know a lot of them do not, I know they train their hamstrings. I've seen training footage of sprinters, but they never train their low back. And I think sometimes people forget is that it's a posterior chain, right? Everything's connected. So if the back is weak, it's going to get tight. It's going to pull on your glute, which is then going to pull on your hamstring, which is going to lead to hamstring tightness. Also calves. People kind of neglect the calf a little bit as well. Calf gets tight, pulls on the knee, right? Remember the calf's a 2-joint muscle. They'll then pull on the hamstring. So he's kind of fighting an uphill battle. And unfortunately, she just ran into like kind of that perfect storm like he was talking about. He just was putting down so much power then that we just didn't have enough time. And the problem is, and if any of his listeners right now know, like if you're a track athlete, your season's very, very long. I think she and I, we probably only had 2.5 weeks off in between seasons, and then we're right back in training.
Yep. Or less if you.
And then, if we went postseason less, so both of us maybe only like a week. I think it was exactly a week that time because we both went to New England's. And then you went to Opens, right, or something? Or
I did. Yeah. I tried to do like the indoor because I was trying to break the indoor triple jump record.
That's right.
And I failed.
Yeah.
I'll never forgive myself.
So she had 5-day off season. I had like a 1 week off season. It was even worse. And then we're right back into training again. So like, there's never really any time to address any weaknesses. She and I have similar weaknesses. We're very quad dominant. We have no low back and no hamstrings or glutes. Nope. So that was something that we tried to focus on. The problem with Chi's sport is it's more elastic power, right? It's elasticity in the muscles. So of course you're going to get tears and groin pulls and stuff like that. Like that's why their prehab so much more important than mine. It's just pure velocity. Like the velocity of him taking off the board is way, way higher than me throwing, right? Like if there was any way to measure, like we can't hook a tendo unit. either of us, but that'd be kind of cool to see
That
as
would be.
well. Um, but yeah, so I'm gonna humble brag about Chi. Like, I think when we started Chi in, I'm talking about his numbers in the weight room. Not now, are they a great indicator? No, but they're a good benchmark, I would say. When she won conferences at Plymouth, that was what, like January or February?
I think it was February. Damn, it's probably like,
Yeah.
yeah, it's
So
coming up 2 years.
right.
Yeah.
So it was in February. Chi and I took our projected maxes on I think it was like the first or something. Chi, right? Like we went to Farmington High and we
Yep.
just put up big numbers or something.
Yeah.
I think Chi that day did. Oh God, you were right around 365 squat.
Mm-hmm.
You did a 365 straight bar deadlift that day, I think,
Yep.
too, which was pretty amazing. And then you did a 405 for what, 7 on the trap bar? Like that was months before
Yeah,
that,
yeah, that
even
was
though.
before that. I remember like that day at Farmington, I literally like maxed out everything. I think I maxed out like my bench too, and I maxed out my front
I
squat
know
at
because Mendoza was
315,
like,
and like I
yeah,
was
he
just
was
like,
just like, dude, he's like, you have enough time to recover, so he's like,
yeah,
just try it. And I want to say to you cleaned like 185 or something
I
then,
think so, yeah.
which was pretty good,
I mean,
you know. And
I get, yeah, for like no real solid cleaning history.
right,
Like,
right, and and I think the people at the home need to realize that like you weren't even squatting 300 pounds on the back squat when we started training, or you were getting bombed by it, you know.
oh, okay, yeah, yeah, yeah. Like, are you at the?
Beginning of our training cycle, yeah,
Oh,
when
okay,
we
okay,
first
yeah,
started
yeah,
working
yeah, okay,
together.
okay, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I mean, like we all put on some serious strength. Like
yeah. No,
I think
absolutely, 100%.
I put on like 20 pounds in every lift, like
Jeez. Yeah.
like nothing. Like, and I thought I knew I wasn't slowing down, but like training optimization is like tough to gauge when it's just you.
Mhm.
It's better when you have more eyes on it, and that's like the genius that Mendoza had is like we just discussed like, hey, like we're gonna have to rearrange some stuff. Like one of the things that we did was we squatted and we benched on the same day, and
Mhm.
then kept all of our heavy pulls on another day and gave enough time to recover. Like that was super important.
Yeah.
I thought it was interesting. Like when she and I were talking about like topics to discuss, we kind of just bounced ideas off each other. But one of the ones that I was like interested to see is like I talked about maybe what I'm gonna do in the future, but she what do you think like what are your goals for just at least 2021 like short term? Like a year is a pretty short term goal in my opinion.
For strength training specifically.
Yeah, strength training, jumping, like
Oh, okay, just
do you have any
athletic
numbers that you
type.
want to hit or yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how close I would be to like a 365 squat right now. Probably not too close, but I'd love
Yeah.
to like get back there. I think I'm doing a lot better with my consistency in the gym. Um, so I mean,
Yeah, I mean you're always in the gym now, but
I'm good on that front. Um, numbers wise, yeah, I definitely want to. I want to be able to hit like short term in the next like 2-3 months. I want to see myself hitting, 335 for like 3. I don't know, squatting.
that'd be good.
Um,
Yeah, for sure.
and also, I mean, we're trying to get my bench up. That's not really too significant when it comes to 2 foot jumping.
Yeah, I mean it's not really, but overall strength still helps for
Yeah,
sure.
and then also, yeah, I want
Um,
to,
go ahead.
just like cleaning and stuff. I want to really get my technique down, see what I can do. Um,
I mean your platforms at the edge are like really nice. Like those are like legit weightlifting platforms. Like, I'm surprised that most people don't use those for that.
yeah, I've seen a few, but yeah, no, not many
Like you
people.
like you guys like that edge drops some serious money.
Hmm.
um,
And they're closed right
but
now, I think.
yeah, I know. How do you like what? Because I'm always interested to like ask people about this. Like, when do you feel time wise you're most recovered? Like in theory, science tells us like 72 hours you should be around fully recovered. Um, but when did you feel like after like a hard jumping workout that you were ready to then do another hard jumping workout? 'Cause I can tell you right now, for me, like I would do heavy throws Monday and I wouldn't throw a six. I would actually throw lighter than the 16 for the remainder of the week just to recover, just to be ready for Saturday. Like what would in your opinion, when did you feel like you were good to compete again?
So you're talking about track and field specifically?
Yeah, or just jumping in general. Like even if you're doing a hard like dunking workout or something or a dunking video, like I'm sure that takes a lot of your body.
Yeah. So I mean, I think specifically with track and field and like long jump, I mean, I remember I got to the point like lifting. I was lifting so much that like at first like it was all right, right? Like I was kind of still getting through. I was still competing. Um,
Yeah,
but then I don't know. It got to the point where I think I needed probably like almost a week just off because I remember
yeah,
at practice like Coach Morgan was having us do whatever we were doing with the PVC pipes weighted, strapped down to the ground, whatever it was, crazy resistance training.
yeah.
And then we would also try and do like some short approach jumps, and I could not for the life of me, like my nervous system, my whole entire body was just
Right.
completely fatigued, fried. Um, so I mean, in that circumstance, I needed like that was a lot of accumulated fatigue, I think, and I needed a whole week. But I think generally I'll need 3-4 days, if it's not so
Yeah.
compounded and like to be like
I
very
mean, there's
very
definitely a
frustrating.
mental. Yeah, I mean, there's definitely a mental component to it as well. Here, let me. I'll share something with your viewers. Like, I always try like I'm more recovery focused now that maybe a little bit more beat up, have more injuries. So
Mm.
the thing on the right is the SRA curve. So in short, stimulus recovery adaptation. That's what SRA stands for. If
Sorry, one
you
more time.
look like
Repeat that.
here, we're talking about like what's up?
Repeat what SRA stands for.
Oh yeah, so SRA stands for stimulus or training stimulus recovery, uh, and then adaptation.
Okay.
For viewers that are maybe a little bit newer and don't know as much about training, um, stimulus is essentially the workout that you're doing. Recovery is obviously the recovery process, like all the soft tissue, nutrition, blah blah blah, associated with the body basically healing from damage. That's what training is, right? It's damage, and then your body's recovering from it.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, adaptation is a process of actually getting better with training. So you look at the curve, right? Training stimulus would represent um, our workout or she's workout, like what he's saying. There's a dip because of fatigue, right? During the actual training session, notice how it's very steep because the training session is not very long.
Mm-hmm.
And then the recovery portion is very, very long. It's relatively long. That's what we're considering the 72 hours, right? Super compensation is kind of like cheat if you know anything about like tapering, why you taper. That's
Yeah.
that point. And then, of course, adaptations at the very end. But I thought that was important just because we're talking about um, training stimulus. And then I think that's good for all of the viewers there, even the younger ones too. Like I think both of us didn't focus on recovery enough when we were starting to train.
Yeah. No, I see
As
that.
soon as I back, as soon as I backed down workload, I got way stronger and way faster.
Mm-hmm.
I think the last 3 weeks of that year, and even like when I was training for my powerlifting meet, I didn't do. I mean, dude, I was throwing the 16 one day, and then I was throwing the 12 the rest of the week. And I PR'd every single week.
Jeez. And I think I know you did. I'm pretty sure you did pretty well with this, but like a big like recovery shortcoming for me was or shortfall short anyways was like
Sure. Yeah. No.
my sleep. The sleep part of my recovery was not on point at all. um
Yeah. I mean, I think that people don't consider sleep enough, but nowadays I feel like people
put too much weight on it.
work. Yeah. I mean, sleep's believe me, sleep's very, very important. I
Mm-hmm.
try to sleep at least 8 to 9 hours every night.
Yeah.
Sometimes 10 on the weekends. Um, I think the was it the bracelet thing, the Whoop, when they came out, like
Okay.
those
Yeah.
things are like people already got like jumped on the train with that,
Yeah.
and they're great. They're not super accurate, like they're just a guideline,
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, basically like just sleep, growth hormone, testosterone, cortisol, change in hormone levels. That's important. Like recovery itself, like just being at rest is super important for your body to recover. Especially with like what you're doing, and then even if I'm doing plyometric workouts, which I still do now, the body's put under like an extreme amount of duress. Like people don't realize that jumping over, let's say, a 30-inch hurdle for multiple sets under load, maybe with a band, if like what you were talking about,
Mm-hmm.
like that, you don't feel beat up because it's not like squatting 500 pounds on your back.
Yeah.
But try to do that tomorrow, and I guarantee you your force output is lower, and I guarantee you the max height that you could jump is lower.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Right? Like, and that's so like total. I can't remember what it was. I was talking with my coach about it the other day about the total ground contacts. So like every time your feet touch the ground, I try to keep like anywhere from 15 to 25 ground contacts of workout.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you think about it, 25 is 5 sets of 5, or and then 15 is like 3 sets of 5, right?
Yeah.
And or even 5 sets of 3, which I like way better because you can prioritize putting in the most velocity you can per rep rather than like 5. There's like a fatigue factor that kind of creeps up on you after a while, especially if you're as heavy as I am.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but like with Morgan, did you feel like, if you don't know, like Morgan was she's coach our senior year.
Long
Did
jump.
you
Yep.
feel like
Triple jump.
you guys were doing almost too much? Because I saw some of your workouts. I'm like, that's almost getting into like the conditioning portion of jumping. Like your workouts were very, very long,
Yeah.
even towards the end of the year.
Trying to think. Um, I think if I had been doing nothing else, like weightlifting wise, that
Yeah.
his stuff would have been like perfect for me. And I think in the end, it was helpful, but it would have been a lot more appropriate if I hadn't been doing any other strength training. And he even told us like, hey, don't be lifting right now. And I was like, oh yeah, okay, I'm not lifting. And then I'd go and be in the gym with you early in the morning. But I think definitely for some other people who were some other jumpers, I think it might have been a little bit much. I don't think they had the prerequisite kind of strength required for some of this stuff, and I think that might have been a little bit detrimental for them. But or not detrimental, but just like
Well, I think with
as you said.
I think with Brendan it was a little bit too much.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think that his body wasn't, because remember he wasn't really doing much like before we started the season.
Yeah.
Like granted he got really really good, and he was good. Like let me
Yeah.
correct myself. He was a good jumper.
Yeah.
But you go from like not doing a heck of a lot to doing like intense workouts.
Yeah.
Like I'm surprised he made it. Like it was amazing, and he had his bumps and bruises, but
Mm-hmm.
like that's a lot to ask, dude.
Yeah. For sure.
But with training, it's just like I feel like I feel like we had a perfect storm too. Like we had really good weather that year.
Mm-hmm.
We were able to get out almost every single day and throw and jump. Like it was great. Like it was awesome.
Yeah.
That's what it must be like to train in the South. Like having great weather all the time.
That was beautiful. I just miss like right now I remember we had to like train in the gym during the winter and whatever. But like I would love to just have like a big open gym that I could do whatever I want to. Even like even if it's like a long jump. This COVID thing is messing everything up, but
yeah.
Obviously still ways to get past it and improve. But,
yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So what go through like a week of training. Like what does a week of training look like for you right now?
Sorry, I don't know why I made that face. Right now, I've been working out with Alexander, and
yep.
So I have been doing more. It's more just kind of strength, hypertrophy. It's a lot of reps. Normally, we've been doing pyramid type stuff, and we even did like a reverse pyramid. I've never done like a reverse pyramid squatting thing, but we started at like, we didn't even start that heavy. It was like 255 maybe for like 12. Is that how it works? No, wait. No. Okay, yeah, we started like 255 for like 6, then we did like 225 for 10, and then like whatever. We went down to like 185 for 12 or something at our last. Maybe it was 225 for 12.
Yeah.
So I'm doing a lot of that
I'm
stuff.
not.
What's up?
Yeah, keep going. No, keep going.
So I mean, I like that stuff, right? I still think I have some stuff to squeeze out of like, you know, hypertrophy training, but also I want to do, like my plan for today was to, you know, hit the gym and go heavy on the squats, try and do like 4 or 5 sets of like some heavy triples or something, work my way up to 295 maybe. I don't want to push it too far at this point. I'm still trying to get back into it. Deadlifting, again, you know, the less reps or lower reps, higher sets, and then cleans. That's like really my goal for today. Can't do that. Maybe I can later in the day if it opens up. But yeah, I want the, right now I'm just doing 2 leg days, which is going to be more fatigued, another one more strength, and then doing the same with, like, you know, we have our push days, we have our pull days, because I still want to kind of make everything a little balanced, especially in the upper body area.
Yeah, for sure. Good.
Yeah. I probably took like 10 minutes to explain a very simple thing that could have taken like 2 sentences, but
nah, it's good. It's good.
It is what it is.
I'm always interested to see how people train.
Mm-hmm. I need to get into like writing it down and like I want to get like a whole like Excel, because I'm assuming you like track your stuff, no? Like you have a.
Yeah, I do. A lot of it's like instinctual now because I kind of have like all these numbers memorized in my head. That's not to sound like, you know, I'm better than anybody, right? But
nah, you're good.
I don't think a lot of it, I mean, I've been training for almost 10 years now. Like I'm getting up to my 10th year this year.
Yeah.
So my training age, I use that a lot. Training age is really important. My training age is like a decade, whereas most people, like a lot of the guys in the gym that are now, they're like young, like 22. They're like, oh, I started working out when I was 18 years old. I'm like, whoa, I already been working out like, you know, 4 years here, 4 to 5
Double
years by then.
Yeah.
You know, so, you know, training is good, but I try to focus more on like, honestly, it's just recovery is my priority. You know, maybe we could talk about like the science about like, you know, where I get numbers from and how do I determine what we're doing that week. I don't want maybe waste too much time right now, but really simply put, it's like Monday's heavy or body day with a focus on the posterior chain with a little bit of abs. So what does that look like? Usually it's a heavy clean, heavy squat, relatively heavy. I try to mix up variations weekly. So I might do 1 week heavy power clean and then a heavy back squat. Next week will be a full clean or a block clean or something like that. And I'll do a front squat, pin squat, whatever. Then Tuesday is like a heavier upper body day, like benching. So I normally snatch on Tuesdays just because I don't like mixing them together. And then I bench heavy, and bench variations not as much, like incline, close grip, regular incline, then flat and close grip, and then sometimes I'll do like a push press or a strict press or something like that, some sort of pressing movement. And then Wednesday's completely off. I don't do anything other than like cardio, and I might do arms for fun. And then Thursday is a very, very light, like velocity based. I hate to use that word because it sounds like snooty, but velocity based lower body. So normally it's some sort of, I'm rambling, but normally it's some sort of potentiation warm up. So whether that's box jumps, single leg bounds, single leg box jumps, or something like that of that nature. Then it's into a little bit of lower back work to keep the back healthy, get some blood in there, and then some sort of hamstring movement as well. You know, I'm not a huge fan of hamstring curls, but they serve their purpose for sure. I would much rather have my athletes do Nordics.
Yeah.
And then I'll do some sort of like light squat, light clean. I mean, you're talking like under 50%. Like my whole deal is then is to recover from Monday, also still get some stimulus, still get some technical work done, and then Friday is a upper body day, so more associated with like rehab. So if I do tricep focus and back focus on Tuesday, Thursday's usually going to be some sort of shoulder rehab. My shoulders are really strong, so they kind of overpower everything. So I have to keep them just like training for that light. Like I do TIYWs and then some like banded stuff
What are the
to keep them healthy.
TIYWs?
But it's like remember we're lying on the bench. It's like T.
Oh, okay,
Y,
okay, yeah.
Y, and then W's like that.
Mm.
Yeah, so those are really, really good. I program them for most of my athletes,
Yeah.
even powerlifters. I think powerlifters could learn something from athletes like you. You know, don't be fat and out of shape all the time, but just only in shape. That's one thing I regret too. Like, you put on quality size.
Mm-hmm.
I almost never really put on quality size. Like, you put on like 5 to 10 solid pounds of muscle, maybe 5 pounds that whole year.
Yeah.
I put on like 10-ish pounds of like crap.
But I mean, that's
You know?
part of that's like right, like that's a genetic thing. No, I feel like I guess I mean maybe I was like right, maybe some of my movements kind of aided that type of muscle growth a little bit better, but I feel like a lot of it's got to be genetic as well.
100%. Yeah, I mean, you talk about the mesomorph, endomorph, ectomorph thing.
Yep.
Yeah, it's genetic too, but it's definitely diet related. Like if I eat a little bit cleaner, like
Mm-hmm.
put on quality mass, which I think I did towards the end of the season. I put on another like 3 some odd pounds.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think I was like up around 232. I went all the way from 220. So it says 10 pounds, but you got to consider that's like water weight and all that stuff too. But yeah, you put on good weight that year. That was really impressive, but not surprising because the quality of the muscle that you have. When I say muscle quality for your viewers, I don't mean like the look or anything, the tone of the muscle. It's literally like the quality of muscle, like how, like the type of fibers that Chi has, the type of fibers that he's able to recruit. That's super, super important. So, I mean, Chi, you know this, but genetics, like, it's a very, very large portion of athleticism. Like,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of people don't want to believe that, but that's just facts. That's just science. Like, you can't really like, Bo Jackson and I are not the same person. You know?
Yeah, no, of course.
Did you see the other day that they clocked in his throw that he made when he was with the Royals?
No, I didn't say
This is
anything
like
about that.
35 years ago. He threw 109 miles an hour.
Jeez.
The world record fastest pitch is 106, so he would have broken the record.
Holy shit! But he wasn't even pitching. He was just like it was just what like
So
trying to
he was just trying to throw somebody out.
crossfield.
Like, it's
Yeah.
hilarious.
Jeez.
Yeah, like, what a freak. And that's the thing is, like, I try to tell people that I'm like, dude, like, you know, certainly train hard and try to push towards your goals, but in a lot of ways, like, there ain't nothing you can do. Like, you can certainly make it better, but
Yeah. I feel like maybe people like mix up the idea with like of genetics and like their ability to improve, right? Like those are two different things.
yes, absolutely. That's a very good way of putting it.
But,
Yeah. Well, elaborate on that then. What do you mean by that?
I mean, like I definitely have good genetics. I think just straight off the bat, I would have been like an above average jumper, an above average athlete. I have a certain body composition. I don't know, when people see me, right? They see whatever, I guess an elite athlete or an elite jumper.
Right.
And while maybe my exact numbers might not be available to somebody who's not doesn't have like the same genetic gifts as me, they can still, I very, very truly believe, and I've seen this in a lot of cases, right? These guys who are maybe below average athletes then become above average, and just I don't know, they still show a lot of improvement. They can still improve a lot, but obviously it takes time, just like with anything else.
People, honestly, social media like makes it worse because
I feel that, yeah.
You get this concentration of like people where it's, I don't know. Let's say there's how many players are in the NBA at any one time? Like 300.
Probably around there. That's
300,
a
400, I
good
don't even
number.
know. Somebody's gonna have to correct us in the comments.
285.
Yeah. So let's say 300. There's another what 500 in the NFL. You're looking up.
Yeah, I'm looking at how many players in the NBA.
Yeah.
Oh, 450. Okay, it looks like that was just a quick.
Wow, that's a lot. So how about that? How about the NFL? I'm assuming it's something. It's like more like 700, but
1700.
1700. Holy crap! Okay, so this is a good example. It's so a good example though. So like 1700 plus 500 is like what 2300, right?
Yep.
2200.
2200. Yep.
Give or take a hundred or so.
2150.
I think what people forget is like the total population of the United States is what, like 300 million.
More than that, yeah, probably closer to 350.
So like you're looking at like 2,200 people. That's not even one. That's like less than 1%, right?
Yeah, I mean that's just a tiny percentage.
Right. But my point was like social media, like exposes us to all these freaks and natures, and then we're like, oh, if I like do this, I can be that person. When in reality, like, Bron James and Aaron Donald, like, we might not ever see another Aaron Donald or LeBron James for the rest. I might never see one for the rest of my life.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Zion maybe, right? But Zion's a whole nother level. I would think, in my own opinion.
Yeah, no,
like,
he's just a physical freak. Like,
they're just freaks. They're just freaks in nature, and there's just nothing you can do about it. Like, and you know, we kind of talk about it like with I think it's called it's like the athlete reverse athlete pyramid. I can't remember what the heck it's called. We learned about it in class. This was years ago, but basically, like when you start out at rec league when you're young, you know, the base of the pyramid is like this big, and then when you get to middle school, it's this big, and travel league. And when you get to high school, it's this big, and then when you get to college, it's this big. You know, then when you get to professional athletes, it's this big, like it's like a sliver.
The base?
And
you're saying of a pyramid?
Right, the base is super wide, right? Because you have this large like concentration of athletes, right? Like from all over the town, right? Yep. And it gets progressively smaller. My point is that like even Division 1 to professional, there's a jump. Like you take all Division 1 athletes, maybe in track and field or basketball or whatever, and maybe what, like 20 of them actually turn out good, 30 of them maybe.
Yeah.
Like, and then at the NFL or NBA, you only have one MVP. Yeah. You know what I mean? So it's like crazy to think about that, how it narrows, like it bottlenecks like severely.
Oh yeah, the different levels, divisions. Another thing I feel like I have to note on the topic of like genetics and stuff. Is if anybody's watching this and they're young.
Yeah.
I hate, like, I feel like I see this a lot, especially, again, going back to what you're saying with social media. Like, you see all these, which is good. I think there's a good side to it, and there's also, like, bad aspect to it. But, right, you see all these amazing, crazy athletes, and you're either going to put yourself in, like, one of two categories. When you see these people, you're like, whoa, this guy is a genetic freak, and I'll never, ever be able to do anything like he does. Or the other thing is, like, wow, that's kind of cool. I want to try and do that, and I'm going to start maybe working towards doing that with whatever it takes. Okay. And I think a lot of people fall into the category where it's like, yo, this dude's a genetic freak. I'll never be able to ever do that. And I think I was lucky enough.
Absolutely.
I think I was lucky enough, like, because I was seeing, right, like when I was younger, I didn't really ever think I'd be able to, like, dunk, really. But I saw these guys who were dunking, and I was like, yo, this is cool. I want to dunk. And so I just started trying to dunk.
Yeah.
And, like, over time, right, like, I figured out I have these certain athletic gifts, and, you know, I got stronger, and I started jumping higher. And, I don't know, I think that just goes to show that, like, nobody, right, like, I wasn't told that, like, hey, like, I'm athletically gifted. I might have shown some promise, like, here and there, like, in my younger years. But, like, I didn't know, like, right, I wasn't like, yo, when I'm 23, I'm going to be able to just dunk off vertical pretty easily, right? So it's nothing that's,
For
like,
sure.
It's something that you have to go, especially if you're young, you have to go out and try and put time and effort in, and then you can come to your answer of what your ability is. And it's almost always more than we think it is. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. I think that it should never limit you.
Mm-hmm.
But I think, I mean, you know, I don't know how to put this, like, where it would make sense to your viewers, but not like offend anybody, but you're 100% right. Like my whole thing when saying that is I don't want, like, especially because I guess I predominantly work with younger athletes and then even some older athletes that are actually older. I actually have one client that's a little bit older than me, but I don't want to get I never want to have my athletes become delusional, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't ever want my athlete to say like, hey, like I'm never going to tell them no, but I don't want them to be like, hey, like I'm going to go to the NFL or I'm going to go to the NBA or I'm going to go to the Olympics. I'm going to go wherever.
Even if they're young, like.
Yeah, I think that like no. So if they're younger, you want to just like cultivate their talent to the best of your ability.
Mm-hmm.
But I would never say like I never want to give definitives, right? Because I think the psychological like component of like I didn't make it is just as defeat. Like I want them to continue in the sport no matter what.
Yeah.
Like let's say like a student comes to me or an athlete comes to me and they say, hey, Mr. Payne, do you think I could get to a Division I university? I'm gonna say, dude, we're gonna try like hell,
Yeah.
and we'll see what happens. And we work, and let's say he doesn't get it. Let's say he gets a Division II or Division III content.
Yeah.
I always have this. I've seen this time and time again with high school athletes. They're like, oh, I want to hold out for that Division I deal.
Mm-hmm.
I want to hold out. And I'm like, dude, you're gonna take whatever is gonna give you the most money. You're gonna take whatever is gonna give you the most financial security. You're gonna take whatever is gonna get you into school. Like that's what's most important,
Mm-hmm.
you know. And I don't want to be the bad guy there, but looking back at all the offers that we got, I mean, we talked about that like in private. Yeah, should we have taken a few other offers? Probably,
Mm-hmm.
but it didn't make sense at the time,
Yeah.
like. And my priority as an educator is always to get those kids into school, like
Mm-hmm.
not to hold out for something that may never come,
Yep.
And that's not to say that you shouldn't work for it. You certainly should.
Absolutely. And I mean, I think I agree with you, right? Like, I'll never, if I was, a coach, I would never want to say, hey, like, if you do this, you're gonna jump 45 inches, right? Like,
Yeah,
then
exactly.
if that doesn't happen,
yeah.
it's like, oh, or like if you do this, you're gonna make it to the NFL, you're gonna make it to the NBA,
Right,
right?
right,
Like,
right.
the best thing you can do is work your ass off and then see where it takes you. And
100%.
but
You need to enjoy the journey.
absolutely, 100%,
You need to
100%.
enjoy the journey.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people get fixated on like the end result,
Yeah, that's the social
and that's
media
just
thing.
like really not the way to look at it.
Exactly. Yeah, you see
Yeah,
stuff on social
100%,
media, and
right?
people are like, "Yo, how do you do that?" And I'm like, I mean, well, I guess yeah, I'm genetically gifted, but also I've been jumping for like 15 years." But right, they see it on Instagram. They're like, "Yo, how'd you do that, bro? What's the one exercise that I can do for the next month that's gonna let me jump
yeah.
like you do?" And
Dude, I get that all the
it's
time.
not like
I'm
that.
like, I'll be in the gym or something, or like I have clients talk to me or people come up to me and how'd you get that strong? How do you do that? How do you do that? I'm
Yeah.
like, I'm strong. Like I don't even consider myself that strong. Like you look at some of these kids now, and you're like, holy crap. But I'm like, dude, like there's not an excuse. Like I'm never gonna use like. It's funny that there's like that contrast. Like I'm never gonna use I have crappy genetics as an excuse, but I'm never gonna use the I have amazing genetics either. Like I'm like just work hard, nobody cares kind
Yeah,
of thing.
no, yeah, I mean,
But they ask me all the time, like, what do you do to get stronger? What do you do to get bigger? I'm like, dude, eat more and train harder. Like I don't want to, and plus, like a lot of these guys they're not going to go into like kinesiology or exercise science or whatever. So you don't need to overcomplicate what you're saying. Like,
yeah,
train harder.
it really is almost
Eat
that
more.
simple. Like, yeah.
Right. It really is. Like, and one of the things that like I tell, some of my friends, and I think I've told you this, is like you got to keep it simple.
Mm-hmm.
Like you just got to keep training simple, and you got to keep training fun. Like you need to be in the sport as long as you can.
Yep.
To make progress, not in one year and out the other. Like I see that all the time.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure you do in the jumping community. You see a guy who like is killing stuff, killing records, killing jumps, and then they either get injured or they get burnt out mentally, and then you never see him again.
Yeah, yeah. All right, so Jump Squad, thank you for watching. This is hopefully the first of many discussions that we have. Maybe we'll bring some other people on, but I figured I might as well try and do something like this. I enjoy spending time with Matt, talking to him, learning from him. So thank you, Matt, for joining me. And I don't know if you wanna shout out your social media or anything like that, so anybody watching can check out more of your stuff.
Yeah, I do most of my stuff through Instagram and Facebook. And then professionally, I like a separate email. Um, she's gonna link my Instagram down below, but I think it's Penny Matt or Penny underscore Matt one or Matt underscore Penny one. I can't remember what it is. It
One of
shows how much
those.
I'm on Instagram,
Yeah.
but yeah, no, it's actually I think it's Matt underscore Penny one, and then my Gmail is just like Penny Matt at Gmail. It's pretty simple. I do all my coaching through Instagram, so and I love to answer questions. Like if any of Cheese listeners have questions, just like DM me. I'll try to answer them the best I can. Um, and then as for like anything else, like I don't have a YouTube channel, but Cheese been trying to get me to start one, and maybe I will. I don't know. We'll see. But I just appreciate having Chi on. Like uh, I think the best time to get work done and like contemplate about like training is like just having an open discussion. So
Hmm.
I hope we do it more in the future. It's really good, and maybe we'll do like a Instagram live or something. That'd be pretty cool. Like we're I should have people asking questions while we're doing it.
That'd be cool.
So yeah, that'd be awesome.
For sure. All right. Well, thanks again, and I'll see you
Yeah,
guys in the next one. Peace.
thanks, Chi.